Okay, Teacher Think here, and we're going to talk about when to do the homework and a little bit where to do the homework. And I've gone through the internet to find some websites that are validating me. They're what I was going to say anyway, and but it gives you something to hang on to if you want to review stuff or get a little deeper into it. Then you can always look these websites up, and these are two very good ones. And it comes down to what you would do in elementary, middle, and high school. So for elementary school, the best time, in my humble opinion, is right when you get home from school after having a little bit of a break and a snack. I base that on asking all my students over the course of the years when they do their homework and what their routine is. And generally the ones who are just most put together, not necessarily the A students or anything like that, but the ones who are just ready every day, have homework, have gotten a good night's rest, are generally the ones who've taken a break, had a snack, and then done their homework, not put it off till later. Now, this website here, which I'll show you, breaks this down into really three parts because that's not the only choice. One of them is, right after school. So as soon as you walk home or get off the bus, you go straight into the homework. And one of the good things about that is that the work of the day is still fresh in their minds, and that's true. It also just instills a good habit of not procrastinating and just getting right to it. And then after that, you've got the evening for yourself. This person also mentions that PE classes are shortened and art and music classes are canceled. So this leads into the next thing where you might want to do that short break. If the bus and the walk isn't really enough for them, then I think a short break is a good idea. Play outside, do something inside, not video games, not TV. That's really a great way to just hamper their ability to get into the homework later on. I would definitely not do that. But give me a little break, especially with days getting shorter in the winter. I think it's a good idea to be able to get outside and enjoy the sun a little bit, not waste that opportunity. And then this person talks about homework after dinner. And most of the time you would want to do that in the elementary school if you have two parents working outside the house and you want to be the ones doing whatever you need to do for homework with the child. Some children just don't need any help. I mean, you come home, you can check their work and look at what they did, and it's great, and they did it on their own. And if you're blessed with a child like that, then God bless you, and you're all set. But not everybody wants to do that. Now, if you are getting home later, an hour and a half or 2 hours later before. After the child, then you probably have a babysitter or an older sibling or something helping out. And they may not really be up for helping with the homework. A sitter may not really know what's going on or may not really feel like he or she's really there for that. And they may not know what the extent of their authority is, if there's a problem, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of parents would rather just be the ones to be there, and that's fine. As long as you understand that the energy generally wanes. You have to know your own child, obviously. This isn't just, I'm not trying to prescribe things for everybody, but just give you some food for thought. And again, but the generally that energy declines, and what might take half an hour earlier in the evening will be 45 minutes later. And that can lead to being up too late, and and then you're tired the next day. There is nothing that an elementary school teacher wants to see more than a well-rested child, more than the homework. They'll take half the homework in a well-rested child before they'll take all the homework in a kid who's scraping along through the day. All right, so moving along to this, middle school and high school, there's less really practical advice on when to do homework, and that's because middle school, you've got a lot more stuff going on in their lives as far as maybe hockey after school or whatever, and you don't always have that time right after school. And of course, you want to be giving them more independence on when they make those choices. So that applies a little bit less. But one thing you can definitely emphasize as a teacher, as a parent, is that they have study halls during the day, and that they should really be using those, really utilize that time. It gets more important with high school, obviously. But if they feel like they have too much homework, you can ask them questions about what they do with those study halls. If they really are studying, are they doing homework during that time? Or, are they opening their laptop and playing games or talking to people? We've all done that. I mean, you go to study with some other people and you just talk the whole time, and then you have the work later. But that's the child's responsibility, and they shouldn't be complaining about that. But you can ask them, how much time did you really spend with that, and then talk about what the rest of the week is about that. I wouldn't be in a position of asking them when those study halls are. I would figure out that right at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the term what the schedule is, so that when those study halls are, and just say, well, for this Thursday, then what are you going to be doing with that after lunch study hall? What exactly are you going to be doing? So not just studying, but which can mean getting there and thinking, well, what am I going to do now? And spending 10, 15 minutes before you really get started. This person talks a lot, and I'm going to show you the website now. Actually, let me show you where it comes from. Empowering Parents, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's a long thing, so I won't be reading all of it. But structuring the evening is really important, and this comes down to having instilled those habits in the elementary years for thinking of the evening as homework, that you devote a certain amount of time to it, hopefully around the same time every night, and that that's just part of the evening. Where to do it, by the way, is also part of the evening, and it's another decision that you have to make. Should the child be doing work in his room, assuming that you've got room for that and there's a desk, or at the kitchen table or wherever? What you really want is a place where they can use, ideally they have the same place every day, and it's quiet and it's a flat surface. So not the couch, not a lap desk, certainly not in front of the TV. Kitchen table's okay as long as there isn't too much activity going on. If there's a TV going in the background, then, I don't know, find a way to get the TV off. It's very distracting. Even if they don't look distracted, they're devoting mental energy towards blocking it out. If they're in their rooms, you really have to think about those electronics. If they are taking breaks by watching YouTube, for example, then that messes up their mind for concentration later on, and it's really not a good idea. I don't think they should be, if you ask me, they shouldn't be using cell phones during the week at home at all. No reason for it. It's just a distraction. It'll turn 1 hour of homework into 3 hours of homework, sitting there thinking that they spent 3 hours and they didn't really spend 3 hours. So, and sometimes that'll work better than other times to do it in the room. But anyway, so that's structuring the evening. Part of that structure, starting the habit when your kids are young, It's important to remember that the elementary school homework, the real reason for it is to create a good habit. So you'll find plenty of websites saying, should they be doing homework, and is it worth it to do homework, and what are they going to learn then that they can't learn later, etc. And it's not about the actual stuff that they learn. It's about developing a habit, and that's really pretty much everything in elementary school. It's about developing good habits. So that homework time gets you in the habit of being ready for that middle school homework time and then high school homework time. If you're trying to establish that habit, then it can be a lot harder, and it gets to be more and more high stakes, because if you miss something in middle school, it piles up very fast. And if you don't have a good habit for getting your work done in high school, then it piles up so fast you can never catch up. And that might start affecting things like college applications. So you want to get that done young. You want to get that in place. This person suggests a public place for homework. Yes and no, as I just said. It can be a good place for an elementary student to be able to check in with you, and when there's a question, don't always need it, you know. That's just, you have to obviously feel that out with your own kid, see what they can do. If you've got middle school or high school and someone's not finishing work, and they're doing the work in their room, then that's a good time to say, let's bring it out into a public place. And then you can get a better sense of how much is really being done and how much chat time is going on, or YouTube or websites or whatever else. Instagram, that kind of stuff. They don't really realize how quickly it adds up. I mean, nobody does, right? I mean, you're fooling around on Facebook or something, just checking it, and then you look up and it's 25 minutes just went by. You know, that certainly happens with kids too. Okay, so not to get into rewards too much, but because I'd like to do another video on how to help your child actually do the homework. But she's talking about getting started with the homework. You know, you can give them a little boost to get them moving, and that's its own question about how to get started. And there's some good strategies for that. But yeah, use rewards for schoolwork, but not bribes. Really, you shouldn't. Ideally, you don't even use any special rewards. Just getting finished ought to be a good thing. That ought to be enough. Your approval ought to be enough. The grade ought to be enough. You know, sometimes the grade's too far away for them to really visualize that for today. But, you know, if you need a reward, it should be something that comes afterward, not necessarily expected. A bribe is trying to get them to do something they ought to be doing anyway. And you're going down a bad path when you start that, because they're supposed to do their homework anyway, and if they expect a special reward for just having done their homework, then you know they'll always expect it, and if they don't get it, they'll feel cheated, and that's just not a good idea. And it also, you know, you shouldn't commoditize learning. Learning really should be done for its own sake, and it shouldn't be for $5 or whatever. Saying that if you finish your homework, then you can go to electronics, to my mind, is not a good idea. And that's mainly because they'll have an incentive to rush through the homework in order to get to the video games or whatever. So an evening, I mean, it ought to be, you know, when you finish your homework, you finish your homework. You can read a book. You can talk to your parents, maybe, you know, talk to your siblings. A lot of things you can do without those electronics. And, you know, if they start using them in the evening after homework, it'll be something that'll keep them up too long. And it'll take, even if you stop before bedtime and you put a definite end to it, it takes longer to fall asleep. So that's backed up by plenty of research. Not that I have any for you, but it's also just common sense. To my mind, there shouldn't be any electronics other than what you really need to do your schoolwork during the week. I really don't think so. I think it's too much of a distraction. I think we're learning more and more about how much damage it's been doing to kids to have this much access to electronics. Now, definitely there should not be a TV in the bedroom. I hear about that sometimes. A kid will say, my parents got me a TV for my bedroom. I'm thinking, come on, please, why did you do that? And I don't exactly feel comfortable calling them up and telling them they shouldn't have done that. It's fait accompli for one thing. But, you know, it's definitely, this is the internet, so I can say it. It's definitely a bad idea. You're making a mistake, without doubt. Now, obviously, a laptop for school or a cell phone is pretty much the same thing as bringing a TV into the room. So you can say, you know, when they come in the door, the cell phone goes on a little shelf next to the door, and that's where it stays all night, and no use. That's it. And as for the laptop, what you can do is you can say that, and this is fine right up through high school, I think. You can say at a certain time, homework time is over. Okay, that's it. You need to get a good night's rest. Period. That's a teacher. That gets to be a little bit of a different question in high school when things are much more high stakes, but certainly in lower grades in middle school, a teacher's going to be a lot happier to see a well-rested kid than a kid with all the homework finished. And what you can do about that laptop is say that when homework time is over, the laptop comes out of your room and it gets put away in the living room, or your room, so that they can't get it or something like that. But yeah, just if they still have it, it's not a good way to fall asleep. Watching videos or anything, it's not a good way to fall asleep. It will keep them up. And you're the parent. You've got the power. You can do it. And inside, they'll be thanking you. Inside, they will be thanking you for doing it, even if they whine and complain, because they'll know it's the right thing, and they will get a better night's rest. So I think that's pretty much it for when and where, and I hope that's helpful to you. And we will see you next time.